Testing, 1, 2, 3.
All right. All right, good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, April 14th, 2025. This is the City of Camilla Council meeting. We're on the first floor at City Hall. And at this time, I'd like to ask our city clerk and city manager, Cheryl Ford, to call the roll.
Councilman Green. Here. Councilman Burley.
Here.
Councilman Morgan.
Here.
Councilman Collins.
Here.
Councilman Mabel.
Here.
Councilman Palmer.
Here.
All right, thank you, Sharon, thank you, council. Council, at this time, I'd like to invite Minister Melita White to lead us in prayer, please.
If you would bow your heads with me. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we come. Thank you for this opportunity that you've given us just this day. The Bible teaches that we got new mercies just this day. Lord, the scripture teaches that the government is on your shoulders. So tonight, Lord, we ask that you would lead and guide all of us as we go forth in this endeavor to take care of the business of the city of Camilla. We're all called your children. We say we're your children. And so, Lord, I ask that you would lead and guide us by your spirit, that the decision that will be made will be for the betterment of the citizenry and the city of Camilla. So now, Lord, I ask that you would bless the mayor and council and guide them in your blessed way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Check your mic. All right, council. Next up, Mr. Pittman, are you here? Good, okay, awesome. All right, council, at this time, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, council, at this time, I will ask if there is a motion for a substitute motion to add to tonight's agenda. And last week, council, we did not have, for our work session, we did not have this application, two applications. One for Mr. Pittman, for the event, special event on April 27th, and a special, for alcohol, one-day alcohol permit, for a special event, and then percent. So there isn't a second percent. Okay, good. All right, council, I thought we had a second one from a vendor. Oh, okay. Good. So council, if there's a substitute motion for this agenda to add the one-day alcohol permit or sale of alcohol at Mr. Pittman's annual gathering of the community special event, and then also a one-day alcohol permit for Cynthia Walker for the same event. Councilmember Gray. And we would, so again, the request is for a substitute motion to add those two items to the agenda for tonight. Now, I have some concerns related to both of these. However, I think it's only fair to Mr. Pittman that at least have a hearing, if you will, of his request by this council. It is not unusual. We've done it in the past where folks did not have their alcohol license in the week prior, and we took it up at our next council meeting. In fact, I had a call meeting related to it. So I think it is only fair to Mr. Pittman that we be given the same grace, if you will, to at least have it heard. So at this time, is there a motion to amend the agenda to add those items, substitute motion?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion properly second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. All right. All right, at this time, council, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the March 10th, 2025 council meeting?
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion that's been properly second. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. All right. All right, at this time, are there any speaker appearances? Any speaker appearances?
I am Jerome Jester.
Mr. Justice, see if that can read the budget.
I am Jerome Jester, 115 Lincoln Street, Camilla, Georgia. Good evening, Mayor Owens,
Yes, sir.
council members, city staff. I'm here to comment on 3 topics. One, floodwater drainage, which you all discussed at length at the work session. Camilla has had a floodwater drainage all of my life. All, not recent, all. I'm not here to point fingers. Why? But the last major floodwater drainage in District 2, they built a lift pump, which is south of the Camilla Resource Center. And that lift pump was to carry water away from the flood area. And I think it has done a pretty good job, about 90%. We, the city, have addressed the rainwater drainage over and over again. But they didn't look at, in my opinion, the whole picture. So they moved water from one area to another area. And as you all discussed last week, you need to look at the whole picture of Camilla. And I understand Camilla is in a bowl, like a little sink. So when you move water from one area you know where you're moving it to, and it will not cause a flood in another area. To do that, you must, in my opinion, see, and you all discussed this last week, hotspots. But until you see the whole picture, when you address one hotspot, you're moving water to another place. You need to see the whole picture so you know to move the water out of the city limits of Camilla. One council member said last week, fix the situation, fix the problem, regardless of the cost. Cost become a situation. You want to have so much money, and you have to manage it well. But in order to fix Cabilla's drainage situation, you're gonna have to look at the whole situation. And you may not be able to address it.
Excuse me, Mr. Jessup, that's your time. However, council, any issues with allowing Mr. Jester, another 30 seconds? Go ahead, Mr. Jessup.
You may not be able to address it as a whole. You may have to address it in stages. We have been fortunate to get grants, federal grants. We may not be able to get federal grants in the future based on what I've been seeing on the news. Poverty. It was mentioned at the last council meeting about poverty in Camilla. It's nothing new. We've had poverty in Camilla, in mortality rate in Camilla, Mitchell County, Congressional District 2 forever. One of the main reasons, one of the better reasons to get rid of poverty is to bring in more industry in this area. People can make more money, believe it or not. More money elevate people's thinking. That help remove poverty. Congressional District 2, that we live in. 14 congressional districts. District 2 is either 14 or 13 in every category you name. Health, education, records, everything. So when we look at Camilla, we must look at the whole picture. Mitchell County and District 2. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Mr. Jessup. Thank you. Any other comments? Any speaker appearances? Any speaker appearances? All right. Hearing none, council, and just real quick on, well, let's move to our action items, and council, if you don't mind, do we want to do what's already here at AB and wait to get to the items added in Charlie and Delta, or start with the alcohol license first? Any thoughts? Sound good? All right, so item A is the historic preservation request for 103 South Scott Street. So council, if you're aware, myself and the city manager, we are part of the historic preservation board. We had a meeting last week regarding this property, and to put this in a nutshell, the issue for the property owners is that it's a historic property, right? And you can't just do repairs on a historic property like you normally would to a regular house. So part of the issue that the homeowner gave to the board was that it's expensive to maintain this property, if you will. And they're having a hard time making the repairs they need to make to this property because of the cost. She mentioned that it's $20,000 just to do the windows based on historic preservation. And if you're asking, well, what is the benefit of owning a historic property? The answer is zero. You get a plaque on your house that says this is a historic property. But this council has not designated any special tax breaks or anything extra. So in essence, the owner of the home is actually paying to have that plaque on their house. And what the owner is requesting is that we take her off that house. Take her off that list. And the board unanimously agreed with her. However, the council created the historic preservation list and put the properties on there. So obviously only the council can take it off. And I would recommend that we do, considering that there is no inherent benefit to the property owner. Now, that's not to say down the road, this council can probably get together and figure out what can we do to, for these folks that are owning these properties. But in today's economy and the cost of materials right now, it seems a bit at a disadvantage. And if folks are asking to be taken off, I think that we should give them strong consideration for that. But I will yield to see if there's any more thoughts. Yes, sir.
In the past, there has been advantages as far as grants and loans and other situations for people that had historic homes in a historic district. So there has been advantages to them.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? All right. Well, let's see if we got a motion, a second to move forward. So council, is there a motion to remove the property located at 103 South Scott Street, Camilla, Georgia, from the historic property list and commonly referred to as historic property number 28? Is there a motion to remove this property?
Motion based on the committee's recommendation to remove the property.
Second. Now, motion is properly second. Any discussion?
Yes, in the bylaws, is there anything about, we've had problems years back about people moving houses, historic houses out of the city. Now, is this, changing this going to affect that, or is that in the policy that's in existence now, or what's the status of that?
That is a great question. So it is, and it's my understanding that that was the impetus or the reasoning for doing that, because you have some of the historic houses here in the city that you put a couple $100,000 to it, you can literally have a little mini mansion, if you will. And what was happening was folks were buying these properties for $15,000, $18,000. And we'll be sitting in a meeting and you look out the window and you see the top of the roof heading up Broad Street, going to another city. Because I don't want to stay here. I just want this nice historic home, and I'm gonna move it to another county. And this was one of the reasons why this came up. So that issue is still there, Councilman, in terms of the rule. You can't do that if your home is on the historic list. So this is a one-off. So this person is saying, I don't plan on moving the house. I want to fix it up, but I don't want to put $20,000 windows on it. Can you please take me off the list? That does not mean the other 27 or the other folks on this list get to move their house or ignore the deal.
Well, I think we should put something in place to protect that, because we lost several
houses that were moved out of town to other counties, and we don't need to open that door, because if you do, it could create a stampede. You know, I think we need to put something in place. If you're gonna take this off, you need to put another ordinance on record, voted in to, not let that happen, if they are in the historic district.
I see. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it is, if you want to get off, cool, but that don't mean you can move your house.
If we need to do that, if you're gonna open it up, you better do that.
Okay. Let me yield real quick. Any other comments?
Perhaps you could make a substitute motion to approve it with the stipulation that the house not been moved.
That's an attorney question.
Yeah. Madam Attorney, can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yeah, so we have a rule in place right now, an ordinance, I believe, that says you can't move a historic property. The question and the discussion right now, which is a great discussion actually, is that if we remove this property, simply saying that we'll take you off, but we want to add the caveat that you cannot move your property. Can we just do that plainly? In my mind, that's altering the ordinance, but, and would need to go through the whole process again, but what are your thoughts?
And you're saying that the ordinance already says the historic property designation cannot be moved?
Correct.
Okay, but the issue here is individuals still possibly moving their homes?
If we take them off the list.
So at the point that they're no longer a historic preservation site, is the home just reverts to being a private residence, correct? Is that? And if I'm thinking about it from that point of view, I don't know that we have the authority to say what they can do with their home or not.
That's right.
And I'm not looking at the ordinance right now, so, maybe this will require more research. But if we're talking about, them being prohibited from moving, a home with a historic preservation designation on it versus stopping them from moving their home, that would be, I think those are two different considerations.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think other than altering or amending the current ordinance to have that specific language, another paragraph that says, and if you are removed, you still can't move your property, will only be the remedy to that. Right. So so council, just understand, we have a motion in a second. If we vote to do this, we are assuming that this property owner is not going to move their house. To Councilman Palmer's point, probably in May, and we can probably, because I don't think if someone does plan on moving their house, they're not going to do it in the next 3 weeks, logistically. So I think that we can amend the ordinance in May to capture any house removed from January 1, 2025 going forward is not eligible or worse to that effect. But that may be a May work session question. Is that a good meeting in the middle, everybody? If we choose to remove this property today?
And we have that ordinance in May.
I think so. Madam Attorney, you see any issues administratively?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't mean to do.
No, please.
But I could definitely work on the ordinance, but I definitely will look into the issue a little bit more, and any liabilities around, inputting that language, but yeah, I think it'll give me some time to research over it.
Okay. Okay, good.
I'm okay with that, as long as we put it on the agenda for the work session. Sheriff, you can go ahead and put me down for that.
Done deal. All right. Any other comments, council? All right, Cheryl, let's go roll call.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilman Burley,
Yes.
Councilman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Collins,
Yes.
Councilman Maples,
Yes.
Councilman Thomas,
Yes.
All right, perfect. Motion carries. Thank you, council. Council, item number 2, on the agenda is the MEAG 2024 year-end settlement deposit designation. So, right now, for the public, as you know, every year we get this money back from MEAG. And we received 2024 amount back from MEAG. And this particular item is, what do we do with it? And council, what I'm going to be recommending is that we go ahead. I had our financial advisor look at Georgia Fund 1 in terms of its interest rates versus interest rates that we're getting at MEAG, and they're fairly competitive. So until we figure out what we're going to do with the money, as we discussed, there's no harm in maintaining our evergreen agreement with MEAG to park this at the MEAG Trust until we're ready to bring it down locally. So that will be the ask. So council, is there a motion? Oh, well, first, before I ask for a motion, any clarification here or any thoughts?
So is that number 7 on the list?
Oh, no. Number 6, Keith.
6.
Yes, ma'am.
she's on this, it's number 1.
Oh. That,
Oh, the actual document. Yes, ma'am. And if you see, for those of you that haven't seen this before,
there are 8 options.
correct.
Last year it went into 1.
That is correct.
Last-
Yes, ma'am.
But you're asking to put it in 7? Is that what you,
Oh, no, ma'am. So you will still put it in 1.
still, okay.
Yes, ma'am. It'll still go into 1. And we have an evergreen agreement, which basically says this will go on forever and ever and ever with MEAG. So if we did nothing, MEAG already knows, based on that agreement, to go ahead and put it into this particular account. However, it is in our interest to give them something brand new every single year, to let them know, what we plan on doing. So,
So in essence, we're doing the same thing that was done in the prior, we'll have a copy of the.
That's correct.
We're doing the exact same.
Yes, ma'am. And then at some point, we're going to bring, as we discussed last week, bring that $900,000 down here locally to do whatever we say to do. All right, any other questions? Okay. All right, council, is there a motion to authorize the mayor and city manager to communicate to MEAG to deposit our municipal competitive trust refund of $941,787 into our flexible operating account short-term portfolio? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion proper second. Any discussion? Brief discussion, council. As I was talking to Councilmember Vereen just a moment ago about the discussion we had last week about what we're going to do with this money this year, and we decided that projects or other items that the council deems necessary to spend this money, that's what we're going to do. And I just want to point out to you a couple of things. since we was talking about that, and Coach mentioned this just a minute ago. So if you go online and look at the City of Camilla minutes online, they're gonna go back to about 1985, 86. If you wanna go back to the 1900s, we have those minutes too. We keep those in the safe. And they're in these books that look like this. So I want to grab this for a couple of reasons. The first is, and this goes to what Coach was talking about and what we talked about last week. So this is from April 1975, 50 years ago. I'm just going to read a portion of it. A group of citizens representing Bailey Drive and McCree. Sound familiar? Section of Camilla appeared before the council asking that they be given some relief from flood waters caused by the rains. I haven't moved any further than that. To the suggestor's point, this issue on McCree at least has been going on for at least 50 years, documented. I would encourage all the citizens of the city, and especially the council, you get some extra time on your hand. I have. It's amazing to read this stuff. Especially when you read the minutes from 1920. That'll blow your mind. But this issue and us bringing this money down, we're talking about fixing issues that are at least 50 years old in conjunction with other stuff. So even though we're getting emails today, just know you have a group of citizens 50 years ago talking about this stuff. So I thought that was important to bring up. And then also I wanted to mention to you that MEAG this is interesting. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm gonna read some of this. Let's try that. You see that? Can y'all see that? Probably not. Don't read it to you. This is in June of 1975. The city will be required to indicate approval, disapproval of the power contract not later than the third week of May. The term of the contract is for 50 years, but it seems to be the only feasible alternative to continuing total reliance on Georgia Power, using Georgia Power. So until 1975, we got our energy from Georgia Power. In 1975, we made the decision to enter into a 50-year contract with MEAG. That contract ends today. Or not today, but this year. And I'm assuming that this council is going to renew. Here's my point. 50 years ago, a group of council members made a decision that completely altered, in a good way, the trajectory of our city. Because now we own our entire electric infrastructure. Anybody want to have a guess of how much it cost us in 1975 that MEAG asked for to get in on this new MEAG thing? There's 537 cities in this state. There's only 49 MEAG cities. We're one of them. Now how much we had to send them? $3,500. Today, 50 years later, you're getting nearly $1 million back in your refunds just for last year. Here's my point. There was a lot of conversations and a lot of fear in owning your own infrastructure as it relates to electricity. It was bold. It was scary. But those council members did it. And I would argue none of them are here today. But we are benefiting from that bold and innovative decision. As we talk about the projects that we may do with this particular fund, I want to remind you all that right now, and Coach Jester touched on it just a little bit in terms of the current political climate in this country. Regardless of your opinion, here's the reality. There's a real good chance that we're going to be hanging on to some higher than normal interest rates in the foreseeable future. What does that mean for us as a city? When interest rates are high, everybody, that means money becomes expensive to borrow. When money is expensive to borrow, private investors will be investing their money or saving their money versus building new stuff because things are expensive. That's economics 101. I would love to say that's the oldest thing, but that is the long and short of monetary policy in this country. When inflation is getting a little bit out of hand, where things are costing too much, one of the ways you combat that is through monetary policy. You raise interest rates. You raise interest rates, things become more expensive, people don't buy it, forces businesses to lower their prices. That's the way this thing is supposed to work. The point that I'm making, everybody, is that we're bringing this money down. We're going to have to make some serious decisions about investments that we're willing to do for ourselves. Because private investing is almost non-existent, or will be. So just like those council members 50 years ago, we're going to have to be just as bold, and I would argue just as brave, to help move the city forward. All right, and with that, council, I yield. We have a motion, properly second. Any other discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just thanks for that preview of funds and just kind of guiding thoughts. I do just also, from an opinion standpoint, think that this will be one of the first times in this city's history where at least the majority of the citizenry can actually weigh in on such a big decision as well. So just as the mayor stated, these bold and innovative decisions with this fund, I also look forward to hearing from community and constituents on just some of your ideas on how we could utilize this funding as well.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Any other comments? All right, council, again, the motion is simply to have MEAG put this in our flexible operating account as it relates to our portfolio currently in place at MEAG. Have a motion, properly second. Any other discussion? All right. Oh, good. All right, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, council.
Can I ask, this is not about the MEAG thing, Bailey Drive, that problem was corrected with the slough. Was it not? No?
No, the slough is still a mess. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
I just,
So Bailey Drive still has some
The
issues.
big slough was the solution, it's just so flat right now.
okay.
It just holds water. When it rains, we have some check valve flaps,
Right.
on 37.
Mhm.
And that's to prevent water from the north back flowing into it. However, that land's flat, a lot of Camilla's flat, whenever it rains a
That's
lot.
not that wasn't one of our target areas, so I don't remember.
No,
no,
it's been solved as best you can do other than.
Okay, but
I
that
can
was.
say this, but, it's a problem, you might have to move.
Well, I just, that's pretty close to where I am, and I just know that we had, I can remember what happened before that was dug, that we marked on a tree how high the water used to go, and it doesn't come anywhere near that anymore.
Well, the big problem, like, look, say it is backflow, they had a problem with the backflow, when it would really.
But then you can shut those.
They're shut,
You
yeah.
can shut it, and that's what helps solve that problem.
Well, that's, I thought that would kind of be.
You know, when the north side of that slough will go down, we can open those to increase the water flow out. But we keep them shut just in case that north water gets higher than the south water, to keep it from flowing back in the bay. So we monitor during storms, and that slough reaches all the way back around 19.
Right, yeah, it does, but like I said, that's real close to where I live, so I just was pretty familiar with how high the water used to go as opposed to how high it goes now. So, okay, thank you.
None of good work. And council, we'll have some information for you, hopefully in May regarding, I'm talking with, Cheryl, we've got an opportunity to talk with Chad, get some ideas, but we're gonna have a second conversation related to that. And Cheryl, is there any highlights from there you want to talk about now, or you just want to wait for the second conversation? Okay. All right. Appreciate you, council. And again, Cheryl, that motion passed. Perfect. So item C, council, is the items that you added just a moment ago related to the one-day permit for sale of alcohol submitted by Mr. Pittman. And just to bring you up to speed, Mr. Pittman asked for an event permit for April 27th out at Centennial Stadium. Mr. Pittman is renting the stadium, and obviously, if you rent the stadium, you get the parking lot for parking. So he's renting the stadium, and he went out, did a walkthrough with Luke, police chief, and some other folks. Everybody signed off on the event permit. Finally made it to Cheryl's desk. Cheryl signed off on it. And then, while on Facebook, I came across a flyer advertising the event. And council, I think I get more text, but anyway, I'll pull it up here for you in a second. Advertising the event. And on the flyer, it said, and again, everybody, I get that to you in a second. It said 18 to enter, basically 21 to drink. The information related to alcohol was not relayed to the city manager at the time the application was submitted. That process carries another step if you're going to do alcohol or sell alcohol and consume alcohol on city property. That step at the time the application was put in was not part of the application. And but for me noticing the flyer online, we probably still wouldn't know of the intent to serve alcohol at this event. And when I say serve, I'm also talking about selling alcohol at this event. I got this information to Cheryl. She reached out to Mr. Pittman, letting him know that there's other steps to be made. We received an email from one of the representatives helping Mr. Pittman out with this, saying that Mr. Pittman had changed his mind, that he won't do the alcohol. Good deal. Then a couple days later, we got word that he is doing the alcohol, which obviously triggers a couple of other things that Mr. Pittman has to do in order to have this approved. Because only this body can approve the consumption of alcohol on city property and the sale of alcohol one day here in the city limits of Camilla. So the issue for me, council, and again, the decision to do alcohol or not alcohol at this particular event rests with the majority of this council. Not just with one person or two folks, it takes four folks to say that that's okay. Part of our alcohol ordinance, council, prohibits the consumption of alcohol on city property, a permit or permission for the city, to do that, if you will. More than that, the sale of alcohol in the city of Camilla requires, for that event, a separate permission from this council to do that. And you also need to get permission from Georgia's Department of Revenue in order to do that. The first step today, if approved by this council, is for Mr. Pittman, hence the reason why this is on the agenda tonight, is for this council to decide if we're going to allow the consumption of alcohol on city property and for sale. We don't get to the Ms. Walker issue before we tackle this one, because the rules are a little bit different for her. So before we get into the motion and all that other stuff, Councilman, again, we asked Mr. Pittman, because obviously we're going to be talking about this, and again, I want to be as fair as we possibly can, and not want to have this conversation without him having an opportunity to weigh in if he wanted to, or if you had any questions for him. So he was invited, and to his credit, he showed up here tonight. So with that, Council, let me yield. See if you got any questions, any comments in general related to this. Floor is open.
Question, to meet the date requirements for the, getting the permit from the state, is this even enough time for that to happen?
So technically, today is the deadline. So, the state requires 10 business days prior to the event. And, to Councilman Palmer's point, that's today. That's to put it in. Now that's not to say that, yeah, sure, to submit it. That's not to say that the state won't come back and say you good to go, whatever the case may be, but that's what they require. I don't know if Mr. Pittman has done that already or not. Obviously, the biggest issue here is in conjunction with that, and definitely in consideration of that, to Councilman Palmer's point, is do we allow that, knowing that there's other elements that have to be in place? So
With the state submittal, is this virtual?
yes, it has to be done online. Yes, sir.
And again, that can still be submitted today.
Indeed.
Before 12.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Now, these two requests are separate, is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes, because
He's the host, she's the vendor.
there you go. Got it.
And both will have to submit it as well.
So, Ms. Walker is a little bit different. She's licensed. She's a licensed alcohol caterer in the state. What she would need is a permit from us to operate that day, but she doesn't need to do anything with the state, as I understand it. So, but again, that's for her to ultimately figure out if that's what she needs to do. But on the surface, it doesn't appear that she needs to do that if we authorize the sale of alcohol.
So in other words, Mr. Pittman would have to submit his application to the state.
Yes. Any other comments?
I think it should be subject to, all the requirements need to be met to the letter. Because when you deal with alcohol, you're dealing with the state and the state revenue department. It's not the city of Camilla. all Mitchell County, it's the state. So everything needs to be, A, B, C, D, and, even, if you're gonna sell alcohol, or sell anything out there, somebody's gonna have to have a tax ID number somewhere.
Right.
Which would all be subject to this, being an issue, is the way I see it.
Indeed. Surely there is the administrative component, is obviously the foundation of it all, right? You gotta make sure that at least administratively, you are good to go. I'm trying to get this flyer.
Have we had alcohol sales at Centennial before?
No. So, well, non-sponsored. So the city has sponsored events, or an event, I should say, 2 years ago, for Thanksgiving. Our ordinance removes that prohibition when it is city sponsored, because obviously the permission is inherent if the city is sponsoring it. And at that time, I think we also had Ms. Walker, but again, at the time, and still, that I'm aware of, she is a licensed alcohol caterer here in the state. So there was nothing additional that she needed to do from our perspective, or understanding, right? So there wasn't anything to be gotten, or, I think I used that right tense. She didn't have to do anything locally because we were sponsoring. It was operating. Yes, ma'am.
To my knowledge, I don't know of any event like this that's ever occurred where it was actually sold.
That you are spot on.
I would drink.
Yes, sir. You are correct. And let me say this, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I told Mr. Pittman, and he can correct me if I'm wrong on the time, probably about 6 or 7 months ago, the event down on Harney, I believe it was. Had a conversation with Mr. Pittman, I told him, hey, look at, can't do that. And if you want to do that, you got to do it this way. And we're trying to move this stuff out to Centennial Park to do that. I'm going to use the word think, but I think there's another word in between I'm going to use. Because this was the whole point of us putting Centennial Park as part of the entertainment zone, to allow these types of events to get this type of stuff off of the streets at a centralized location. The issue for me, however, is that I think the event is good in terms of moving it to a centralized location. Roads are not blocked throughout, specifically in District 1. Folks are able to not worry about the folks speeding down the streets and all of the other stuff that comes with that. This is at one central location. The issue for me, and again for the city, on city property, to have an event that actively solicits the attendance of 18-year-olds while the sale of alcohol is happening at this event. Somehow, some kind of way, that is hitting my ears wrong. And I personally believe that the event, legislatively, I believe that this event can carry on, do what it do, without the solicitation. And I know that Mr. Pittman is not saying 18-year-olds come here and drink, but sitting in this seat, inviting them to come where the sale of alcohol is going to be present, gets me wrong. In addition, and Sharon and I had a conversation today, we're going to have to let the county know not to send prisoners out there to clean for a couple of days after this event. Because typically right now, the county is responsible, or they go out there often to clean stadium, there can't be any alcohol out there in the trash cans and all of this kind of stuff. To the earlier point of Councilman Palmer, it would have been nice to logistically have a little bit more time to properly look into all of this prior to tonight, because the day is the day, if you will. So, yeah, let me get this flyer. Give me 1 second.
That's 4.
Oh, did you?
I also have a
Yeah,
follow-up question, just to get clarity before the vote. The first permit, I get, this is required to have the vendor on site, which would be the number 2. Or is it, am I missing something as well?
Yeah, as the host, we're giving him permission, or would be giving him permission to hold the event
Right.
and do this on city property. That's his piece. The secondary piece is the actual vendor who would actually be selling it. Yeah. So, go ahead, please.
So with that vendor, they would be the only one required to sell. And they would probably, I know they gotta go by the state laws for is checking IDs and making sure of the consumption and age of these individuals. So me personally, that would be her piece. I don't think she will risk her license to sell to underage kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's why we're discussing Mr. Pittman's piece first. Because without him receiving that permission from us to do that, she won't be able to do it anyway.
I'd also add, just thinking from a grace standpoint, I personally had conversations with Mr. Pittman as well, and just others, as we try to really extend our government back out into the community.
Yes.
Just extending grace on understanding our processes. And that'll play a role in the way that I vote.
Yeah, and see, if you heard me at the beginning of this, I didn't think it would be fair to shut it down at the agenda phase, right? You gotta give this in fairness to Mr. Pittman, you gotta give this thing a fair hearing, if you will, or hearing meaning, to at least talk about it. And I think this is one of the reasons why I encourage Cheryl to have Mr. Pittman come here. So before we continue, to get into the actual, see if there's a motion or not, Mr. Pittman, you got any thoughts? Come on up, my friend. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what I wanted to express is, give kudos to Mr. Pittman for even taking the steps to make this thing right. I know you mentioned that you had conversations with him, I think that was last year or so. I've had conversations, Councilman Morgan had had conversation. And it seemed as if he really want to do this and he want to do it the right way. And taking the courage to go through applications and trying to make it right, I have to give him credit for what he's doing. I don't want us to down him for what he do as far as trying to bring the event together. To me, it's better out there than in the streets that we've been having. And I just, like I say, I like what I see, but the time of getting all of this process, that's what bothers me. I think he found out at the very last minute of getting these applications in.
Oh, go ahead. Please finish.
Quarter of my understanding. I don't know whether this was 3-4 weeks ago, and we just addressed it.
Yeah, there's, no, sir. We gave Mr. Pittman all of the relevant ordinances that he needed in order to do this. We were in the process of the application process, he didn't mention to us that, or to the city manager rather, that alcohol was going to be sold out there. It is by accident that I came across the flyer. Because what we would have had, apparently, is on April 27th, the sale of alcohol out there, and this council would have known anything about it. And to Councilor Palmer's point, the state has very specific requirements for this to happen. I don't even want to think about the jeopardy, potential that we would have been in. Not to mention, Mr. Pittman. I thought it was only fair to Mr. Pittman that we go above and beyond to let him know that if you're heading down this road, here are the things you need to do, and here, and not necessarily here are the things you need to do, here are the rules and the laws that you have to follow. And I think that was one of the reasons why we got the email saying, we're not gonna do it. But then that changed 2 or 3 days later. So I would give Mr. Pittman the credit of wanting to have this event in this city and out at Centennial Stadium. That was the whole point of, and if you remember, council, it was me that brought this to this council that said, we know that we're having this beach thing every single year. Why aren't we doing something if we want it off the streets? We got a full-grown stadium out there to make it happen. And this council, at my request, was gracious enough to add the stadium as an entertainment zone. And Mr. Pittman, to his credit, is taking advantage, in a good way, of this new rule. I wish, to your point, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, that the day that this application was turned in, and while we was going through the walkthrough with Luke and the police chief and the fire chief, someone would have said, oh, and I plan on doing alcohol. Because we probably would have had this discussion a week ago. So here we are now. But Mr. Pittman, I don't want to move forward without hearing from you, sir, to see if you have any thoughts or council have any questions for Mr. Pittman.
Hello, my name is Herman. Nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
Me serving alcohol, what difference is that from a restaurant serving alcohol and underage going in the restaurant? Are we gonna take the same precaution as the restaurants?
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Pittman. What are the rules governing the use of an alcohol, of a restaurant here in the state of Georgia related to minors coming in and eating in a restaurant that also sells alcohol? What's the law?
I don't know that law.
Yeah, and that's the point I wanted to make. See, council, and respectfully, Mr. Pittman, it is that is what concerns me. Because these are not discussions rooted in the knowledge of what the rules are. It's, what's the difference between X, Y, Z, D, and E? I would encourage you, my friend, to research that, to know the difference between having a brick and mortar restaurant, the rules related to the percentage of sales, how many hours per day, how many days per week, that allows a restaurant that serves alcohol by the pour or by the drink and minors entering the deal. The state has outlined very specific rules and laws. I think we can all agree, sir, that we're not talking about a restaurant here. And most restaurants, in this case, we're talking about something that is happening on city property. Huge difference. Any other comments or statements from you, Mr. Pittman? Yes, sir, please.
Mr. Pittman, so you'll be liable for everything happening. Okay. If I don't sell alcohol, right, are people allowed to bring coolers in their own alcohol?
Here's what I would say.
I don't see me having control of that.
That there, my friend. You do not have control of what other folks do. We're not going to encourage the city, nor you. We're not going to encourage anybody to brown bag out at your event. What we can control as a city council is what we can approve you to as it relates to this particular deal. Now, individuals that decide that they want to consume alcohol in the public at a special event that is not licensed or permitted to do that, that's the risk on them. And I think if you're not requesting a license to do that, and this flyer is already out in the atmosphere, that will be the conversation going forward between now and the 27th on what will you do potentially to ensure that that doesn't happen. Since though this horse is already out the barn. I think your event is a good event.
We did the flyer. You asked me to redo the flyer, we did the flyer.
Oh, you did?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what did I do with that? You did this on your own?
No, I had some help.
No, meaning you changed the flyer
Yes.
just on your own.
Yes, I mean, you told me to go and do some things and change it, and I did it. When we talked on the phone, you told me to take it.
When did we talk on the phone?
You called me Monday morning around 10 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, to let you know about
And you mentioned the flyer.
indeed. Okay, all right. So you're talking about letting you know
Yeah.
that there's an issue.
Yes.
Now, you changing the flyer, I'm gonna say, brother, that is all your initiative, which is even better, Councilman Moss.
One thing that's real concerning is the liability that could be incurred, and our insurance carrier, what are they going to say? And relieving the city of any liability that may or may not occur. That's to me, everything else is minor compared to that.
That's a great question. As part of this process and part of our ordinance and the rules related to renting the space, Mr. Pittman is required to have a $1 million insurance certificate naming the city of Camilla as an additional insured. So to have this event, Mr. Pittman is required, and he's already gotten a quote for it, to have a separate $1 million insurance policy naming us as a, I'm gonna use the term co-applicant, but that's not the technical term, as an additional insured. So the city in that way is arguably covered.
And then for the, I guess that state submittal piece, would you be prepared to submit that by 11:59 tonight?
Now, are you still moving forward? Can you text that to me? Or did you email it?
I text.
I should.
Yeah, shoot it to me real quick.
I actually.
Is it your, well, let me see what the flyer looks like. And I'm glad Mr. Pittman brought that up, because I want everybody to understand, we didn't want to leave him out in the cold. I called him personally with Cheryl and planning and zoning there and said, hey, listen here, you may have an issue. And this is what you need to do versus, X, Y, Z. Again, I think we owe him all of the fairness in the world. All right, give me 1 second. Okay. You know, for me, I still see the drinks and the 18 to, the 18 enter. But I'll share it with, other folks. Position, Mr. Pittman, if you still want this council to, issuing this, permit?
Yes, sir.
Do you charge for admission?
I will.
It just didn't say it on the flyer, I was just wondering.
I will.
And you had it before, just didn't have it.
I had it unintentionally. At my car wash, I wasn't expecting it to be so big.
Gotcha.
That's the conversation me and Mr. Pittman had in my, in my shorts and, flip flops at about 9 o'clock at night. But again, to his credit, wanted to try to do this. So this is the new flyer. The same, I still have the same concerns, as it relates to it. I truly believe, we got a new DJ though. Got a new DJ. So I was kind of just a DJ Smitty.
It was booked out of time.
Okay, yeah, so, but yeah, this, you know. Huh?
Remain good.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I truly believe that this would be a great event even without the alcohol.
Yeah.
But I'll leave that up to the council, but go ahead.
Security. Oh, yeah. Got security? I paid security, and I was gonna, get 2 outfitted officers.
Yeah, and that was the other piece, everybody, why we need to get on the phone, because, the ordinance talks about a male police officer for every 100 folks. How many folks you think you have that? If you don't know, you don't have to guess.
I don't know.
Okay. So. Oh yeah, I see you changed the font for the 27th. How many people thought it was the 21st?
Everybody.
Yeah. Indeed. All right. Ms. Pittman, I think it's a great idea.
What about
Go ahead.
potentially partnering up with the city in the future?
Now, here's the deal here, brother. I can imagine a world initially without the alcohol, where I suspect if the previous crowds are any indication, council, folks are gonna be buying a lot of gas, buying a lot of burgers, spending a lot of money. Sales taxes are gonna come back this way. This is probably one of the largest events that we've had in the city in a while. Hence the reason why I thought it was important, and to Councilman Morgan's point, where can we find grace in this deal here? Because I think it's a good thing. And I don't take partnership off the table. But within this time frame, my friend, and the things that you're gonna have to do to ensure that these underage folks are not in the midst of this deal without us having some real good stuff in place and conversations prior to this deal. This is 10 days from now, am I right? What the date is? 14. So a little under 2 weeks away. But the good news is, if it's that important to you to have this particular deal, and regardless of the vote here this evening, brother, as it relates to the license or the permit itself, your event is still good to go. But just understand that there are other elements related to just the event itself. Like, we got a quote for the insurance, but we haven't got the actual deal yet. You gotta have that.
I was told, the 25th.
So, no, 7 days, no, that's the deposit, that's the remainder of your money.
Yeah, the remaining money there.
Yeah, you gotta have the certificate in 7 days prior to the event.
I was told that that needed to be the same day that I paid.
Whoever told you that,
The sellers.
yeah, that's not right. Our ordinance says 7 days prior. And again, everybody, this is why we tell all applicants, here is the information. Make sure you consume it, learn it, and read it. And we actually have portions of our ordinances that talks about lack of knowledge or even bad information.
I didn't have everything I needed when I initially got the application. Sure, I got everything I needed this second go around for the application.
Indeed. Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you a question. Is there an issue with getting the certificate 7 days prior? Yeah, so the event itself is, I think, it's still good to go versus, I think, we'll probably want to know if your license for the permit for the alcohol is not approved. Want to know what are some safeguards and some other stuff, if you will, over the next week or so. But the alcohol permit does not stop the event. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Gotcha.
All right. Any other statements or questions for Mr. Goodman? All right, Ms. Bittman, anything for you? Okay. Appreciate you. All right, listen.
Yeah, I was just gonna say at this point, I offer a motion to approve. We heard Mr. Pittman plans to submit these state requirements by this evening. I think those additional considerations to take in place in relation to security and just ensuring that we're doing the right thing. Offer a motion to approve.
All right, let me ask you before someone do a second. Is it possible to do contingent upon approval from the state? Because he's gonna need that regardless.
For sure.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, you can modify.
Yeah, so offer the motion to approve of the 1 day alcohol permit for the Pit Stop and Friends with the condition that the state requirements are met. That is submitted in the event from the state.
Second. All right, motion's properly second. Any other discussion?
The insurance, piece of that needs to be part of that motion as well.
Yeah, and it's actually, because it's embedded in the ordinance, again, the approval for the event itself, whether there's alcohol there or not, he has to have that. So in our ordinance, the approval is only temporary. So if he does not produce that, there is no event anyway, and that's already talking in our ordinance. Thank you for that. All right. Got a motion to
So this being on a Sunday, everything will need to be in by Friday of this week, everything?
Yes. Well,
It's
no,
a week
well,
from Sunday.
for the.
2 weeks from yesterday, so that's a week from this coming up Sunday, so.
I think for the insurance piece and to give, I think Cheryl has some leeway in terms of what she can waive. And if she tells me different, that's fine. But I think to Mr. Pitts' point, if he was given some information that wasn't quite accurate, giving him until the next Monday.
So the Monday prior,
The Monday prior,
okay.
would be,
Well,
fine.
6 days, not 7.
There you go, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But one thing that I wasn't gonna touch, Mr. Pittman, is that I know Tekla told you that you can have the money, the remainder of the money in the Friday before. I think that's fair. When giving you that kind of information, we don't need to disturb that. just make sure that you have, it, assuming that this is approved. Cheryl, any issues with, allowing us to pivot to Monday to have this, certificate of insurance? No issues?
I have no issue.
All right. Got a motion, proper second, any other discussion? All right. Again, council, motion is allow Mr. Pittman to have the, correct from wrong, council, annual gathering of the community, applicant is Herman Pittman, for 1 day permit, to consume alcohol and for sale of alcohol, in the city of Camilla on city property, contingent upon Mr. Pittman completing all other aspects of the application and the approval back from the state.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion, it's already been seconded. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilman Burley,
Yes.
Councilman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Collins,
Yes.
Councilman Maples,
Yes.
Councilman Palmer,
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, on the second issue, is the 1 day alcohol permit for Cynthia Walker. And Mr. Pittman, I'm assuming Ms. Walker is your only person out there selling alcohol, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So council, and again, Ms. Walker understands what it is that she needs to do, if anything, with the state. I think from our perspective, that she is clear, on the state side as an alcohol caterer. We just need to, give her permission to do it 1 day here. Madam Attorney, is that your understanding?
Yes, sir, that's my understanding.
Okay. All right.
Is that the Secretary of State's office?
No, DOR,
Okay.
Department of Revenue. Yes, sir. So, but it appears as a licensed alcohol caterer, she's square, as long as she gets a permit from us. So, council, at this time, is there a motion to approve the 1 day, alcohol license, for Cynthia Walker at the Mr. Herman Pittman's neighborhood gathering on April 27th, 2025, contingent upon Mr. Pittman receiving his information, granting approval from the state.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion, the property second, any discussion? All right. Yes, sir, please. Yes, sir.
Get this straight. She's gonna be selling the alcohol out there, is that what this is all about?
Yes, sir. But our ordinance says as a separate component of the event, she still needs to get that permission from us in order to do that.
She's supposedly, what you said, a statewide caterer,
Correct.
and they have permission, I understand, so many events per year to sell alcohol, what I've been told.
Yes, well, not necessarily a part about how many events, just the way that I read it is that if she gets permission from the local side of the house, that she's able to do that under her, alcohol catering license. That the piece of going through the state, the second piece that Ms. Pittman has to do, she does not have to do. Because she's a caterer.
That's what I understand.
Yes, sir. All right. Pittman. Now, Mr. Pittman, you have that information related to the state, correct?
I do not.
Okay, and again, that's part of all that information that Evan gave you. And what I would argue, and there's now, the state has separate fees for that. So there's a charge for spirits, there's a charge for beer, and there's a charge for wine. So just keep that in mind. If for some reason you're not able to get that information into the state tonight, let us know as soon as you can. Because again, your event is good, but there's no need for us looking for something from the state if we know that it never got submitted. So please, sir, as I mentioned in the email to you, please do as much research as you possibly can over the next few hours to make sure that you're doing this correctly, okay? Okay. All right, council, again, we got a motion just for the proper second to allow Cynthia Walker to sell alcohol at this event for 1 day, contingent upon the approval from the state for Mr. Pittman. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, your roll call.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilman Bartley,
Yes.
Councilman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Collins,
Yes.
Councilman Maples,
Yes.
Councilman Palmer.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Mr. Pittman, just real quick, we might have to step back up for a second. Assuming that you get everything that you need in this type of thing, can you talk about a little bit about what will be some of the measures that you're gonna put in place? If you can, if not, I think Cheryl has already told you that that's what she's gonna need, if everything is good to go. But with the public listening and this type of thing, what do you think?
There's gonna be like 2 points of verification, and that's when you pay your entry fee, you get a separate van for underage and a separate van for 21 and older. And I'm pretty sure once you go to Miss Cindy, she's gonna do the same thing, but she'll also be taking ID at work, and I'll be taking ID on the point of entrance.
Okay. All right. Okay. I am hoping, I would argue praying, my friend, that this is an event that's enough. You feel me? Meaning that folks gonna come have a good time. City of Camille is gonna enjoy the extra foot traffic. Everybody's gonna have a ball. Alcohol or no alcohol. That folks gonna have a good time. And being able to witness and see that, I can see an avenue where we can have a conversation about where we can partner to really shore this thing up in the future. And I think I speak on behalf of the entire council when I say we appreciate you taking the initiative to move this type of thing out of the streets into a centralized location. So appreciate your initiative on that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. All right, council. City manager.
I don't have anything on the administrative side, I think we've got maybe 1, 2, 3 going on.
I have one thing, in our meeting, last week with, Chad, one of our engineers, we talked about the local road activity, grant. It's a zero match, grant for roads. So what we're looking at is some of our streets that fell off the last outdated application we put in, along with some others we added, so. That process has been started. We're going to ride the streets and kind of do a field review over those streets, this week.
I know you mentioned Cedar, had been added. We're reviewing some other areas too, but, just wanted to uplift Washington Street, those portions of Washington. and I shared with the email, but I can send them again.
I have the area noted. We'll run out of money, with the grant, so I'll probably chat and see how many miles we have that we can pay. But the condition of the streets is going to draw back the mileage that we have. Cedar, I know Hilliard fell off the last one, and with that one. We won't go down to Fort, I believe Fort, we could just cut out, where the pine trees are uprooted. We could cut that out and flatten that, I believe that street can be fine, so we'll check that out with Chad as well. We'll have you along, Western River. Thomas Avenue as well, but I'll show them I have a pretty large list, but the worse these road conditions go, we kind of shorten the mileage of that research job that we get.
I'll definitely just also share some spreadsheet that we're tracking across D1 to see what happened. We got quite a few on there, but just kind of seeing what they doing and match.
Yeah, please.
All right. Anything else? All right. Anything else? Councilmember Moran. You're right. Mayor Pro Tem.
I don't have anything.
All right. Councilman Morgan.
No, sir.
All right. How about you, Councilman Dobbs? All right. Councilman Bates.
One thing.
Sure.
I want to thank the city, 51, for helping, stop on the flood in that area. They were out working here, early, last Monday. I think they did a survey, but I think they're doing a good job on the city employees.
Councilman Hall. All right. Well, does anybody else ain't got any? Council, to the public, I think tonight we witnessed a concerted effort. And I think Councilman Morgan touched on this, a concerted effort where we're trying to, as hard as we possibly can, to say yes where we can and to get a real good partnership with this council and with the citizens of this city. And I think tonight was an excellent example of that. Great questions from the council. Citizen prepared to defend and discuss this position. Nobody had to do any push-ups. I think that's an awesome thing. All right. Council, it appears that we have reached the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Madam Chairman, keep it call. Oh, you saw.
Hey, look here. Come here, here to call for the day.
Well, yeah. I appreciate you. I'm sorry. be all.
Okay.
Trying to take action. That's why you.
Oh.
Had to run it out. All right. Shut up.
Good to see you, brother. Yes, sir.
I just.
Hey.
Okay. Oh, that wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go to boot camp. All right, brother.
Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
He's just picking on the new
Okay.
You all right?
Yes, sir. I got a question about the youth council thing.
Yes, sir.
What goes on during the orientation thing?